Having reviewed in excess of 260 different monitors, I thought I should compile a list of my favorite gaming panels. Now down description below, which will be updated regularly, you'll find a link to the video for some further information and also a link out to your localized Amazon store where I also earn commission. It very much helps out the channel. Now note, this video is not being endorsed or sponsored by any of the manufacturers in question, but rather are my personal recommendations for 1080p, 1440p, 4K and ultrawide gaming panels. So jumping straight in, let's talk about 1080p monitors, and what better way to start than the AOC Q24G2A. It sports a 23.8 inch 180Hz 1080p IPS panel. It also has support for HDR. It has good response times across the board, very low input lag and good color accuracy. It follows on from the AOC Q24G2 SPU, which had 165Hz refresh rate, and indeed also the AOC Q24G2U, which had 144Hz refresh rate. This monitor really does tick all the right boxes and is super affordable. Now next up we have got the Dell S2721HGF, which has a 27-inch 144Hz VA panel. Now the smearing has actually been kept down to a minimum, while it also still actually has good input lag and also decent color accuracy, although it does not have HDR. The main selling point of this monitor is that it has far superior contrast ratios over an IPS panel, and of course its larger form factor might be quite appealing for those people wanting it for productivity or indeed if you're playing more casual games. Now on the other end of the scale, we've got the AOC Q25G3XMN, which sports a 24.5-inch 240Hz VA panel. Now normally I wouldn't recommend a VA panel for hardcore competitive gaming, but this one is certainly an exception, as it has an extremely low input lag, very impressive response times, minimal smearing and decent color accuracy. While it doesn't have HDR support, it very much makes up for it for its extremely affordable price tag. Now the same sort of comments could be said about the Philips 25 M2N 3000W, which sports pretty much a near identical panel. So if you're umming and ahhing between the two monitors, make sure you pick the one that you actually prefer the look of. Now if you are somewhat apprehensive about getting a VA panel, then you will want to consider the AOC 24G2ZU instead, which sports a slightly smaller 23.8 inch form factor, a 240Hz refresh rate and an IPS panel. Now this monitor does perform very well across the board with input lag and response times, and also has got minimal inverse ghosting and decent color accuracy. Very much like the other monitors mentioned, it does not support HDR, and is still actually pretty affordable. You also have got the Asus VG279QM if you want a slightly larger form factor of 27 inch, while also getting a phenomenal response time and input lag. Now so far the monitors that I've mentioned perform extremely well across the board. But if you're a hardcore esports fanatic and have got a much bigger budget, you don't care about image quality, contrast ratio or HDR, then you'll want to look at the BenQ XL2566K, which sports a 24.5 inch 360Hz TN panel, which has actually got class-leading motion clarity with the likes of Diac Plus and also excellent response times for an LCD panel. Now on that note, if you have got an unlimited budget and you want the utmost performance for a 1080p monitor, you should look at the Asus ROG Swift Pro PG248QP, which sports a 24.1 inch 540Hz ETN panel. It is the fastest LCD panel that I've tested to date. It also has fantastic motion clarity with the likes of ULMB2, good color accuracy and image quality for a ETN panel, and HDR 400 support. It is worth considering that it is extremely expensive and also needs a certain PC setup for you to get the most out of it. Now to round off the full HD monitors, I would like to talk about the Asus ROG Strix XG16, which sports a cute 15.6 inch 144Hz IPS panel. Indeed, this monitor is portable unlike the other ones that I've mentioned. It has a built-in battery, a mini stand, has actually got impressive response times and input lag, and decent color accuracy. Consider this monitor if you're out and about and you want a very competent gaming monitor. So past Full HD monitors, we get onto the sweet spot, and that is for me 1440p monitors, 2560 by 1440 to be more specific. And the best way to kick this off is with a unique gaming monitor by AOC. is the Q24G2A, which sports a 23.8-inch form factor, 165Hz refresh rate, and an IPS panel. Indeed, this has actually got a small form factor and a high refresh rate, which is quite a novelty, all while having fantastic input lag and response times, decent motion clarity, and also good color accuracy, although it does not support any sort of HDR. Now, if you want a larger form factor and you're not a hardcore competitive gamer, look into the HP Omen 27Q, which sports a 27-inch form factor, 165Hz refresh rate, and an IPS panel. It does well across the board, with its input lag being low, a very low response time as well, support for HDR, and has also got excellent color accuracy. As an alternative to the HP, you've also got the AOC Q27G2S, which also performs very well across the boards. Now, if you want an even larger monitor, consider the Dell G3223D, which has a 31.5-inch form factor, 165Hz refresh rate, and an IPS panel with HDR400 support. It's actually pretty affordable, at least at the time of filming. It also has USB Type-C connectivity, impressive response times and good input lag, and decent color accuracy, although its overall contrast ratio was actually quite lackluster for an IPS panel. Now, another alternative is the MSI Optics MPG321QRF-QD. This is actually a monitor that I would highly recommend in the past, however it's significantly increased in price over the years. This actually has got HDR600 support, therefore making it a better pick over the Dell alternative. Now, keeping the price down low, we have got the AOC Q27G3XMN, which punches well above its weight. It has got a 27-inch form factor, 180Hz refresh rate, and a VA panel with mini LED structure. It also has got HDR 1000 certification, which is actually pretty impressive. It has got a low input lag, a good response time, acceptable smearing, and a phenomenal HDR experience thanks to full array local dimming. The only problem, however, is that it does suffer from slight brightness fluctuations, which might be a little bit of a problem for those people with sensitive eyes, and it has actually got poor color accuracy. Now, so far the monitors that I've mentioned perform very well across the board, but if you want a 240Hz refresh rate, you should look into the MSI G274QPX, which has a 27-inch form factor and an IPS panel, all while keeping the price pretty low. It's got an excellent input lag, decent response time, albeit not the best, decent motion clarity, and HDR400 support, although it's actually got subpar color accuracy. Now, if you have got the budget and you want a monitor that has got a few more bells and whistles, consider the Samsung Odyssey G7, which comes in a 27 to 32-inch form factor, a 240Hz refresh rate, and a curved VA panel. Indeed, the monitor will give you far better contrast ratios, and given the fact that it also has HDR600 support, will give you a lifelike HDR image. It also has got good response times and input lag, although it hasn't got the best sort of color accuracy. Now, should you not want a curved gaming monitor, you'll want to look at the AOC AG274QG instead. This sports a flat 27-inch 240Hz IPS panel with a native G-Sync module, which will give you access to the full VR range from 1 to 240Hz on AMD FreeSync or indeed NVIDIA G-Sync. It also has got excellent response times, low input lag, and also HDR600 support for that lifelike image. However, consider that it has got a pretty big and chunky stand, and if you're going to be using this monitor in a completely quiet room, it does suffer from small fan and whining noise, which might throw off certain individuals. As an alternative to this, you have also got the Alienware AW2721D, another personal favorite, although it's worth considering that this actually comes in at a much more expensive price tag, at least at the time of filming. Now, should you have the extra budget and you don't care about a built-in G-Sync module or HDR600, you should look at the AOC AG274QS, which is the monitor that I actually personally use, as it sports a flat 27-inch IPS panel with a whopping 300Hz refresh rate. Indeed, it'll give you that extra bit of fluidity over the other 1440p monitors that I've mentioned so far and gives you better motion clarity. It also has got excellent response times and input lag, and also fantastic color accuracy. The main compromise, however, is the overall asking price and the fact that it operates with HDR400 only. Now, should you want unbeatable response times and a better visual experience, at least when it comes to gaming, you should consider an OLED instead. And here you have got the AOC AG276QZD, which sports a flat 27-inch 240Hz WOLED panel, which has got excellent input lag, a decent HDR experience, and excellent color accuracy. However, do consider that the OLED panel does require a little bit more TLC with panel maintenance, and the overall text clarity isn't going to compete with regular LCD panels due to the sub-pixel layout of a WOLED panel. Moving on to 4K monitors, we've got the AOC U27G3X, which sports a flat 27-inch 160Hz IPS panel. It has got pretty impressive input lag and response times, decent motion clarity, but does suffer from some inverse ghosting, specifically towards the lower refresh rate range. This is of particular interest because the monitor has got HDMI 2.1 ports and therefore might be appealing to console gamers. Nonetheless, it has got HDR400 support and also good color accuracy. Now, should you have a better budget and want a better equipped monitor, consider the BenQ Mobius EX3210U, which sports a flat 32-inch 144Hz IPS panel. This monitor has actually got an impressive input lag and decent response times. It's also got average motion clarity with also HDR600 support, which is far superior than the AOC that I've just mentioned. It also has got excellent color accuracy, which is certainly appreciated. Better still, it has got those fabled HDMI 2.1 ports, making it also perfect for console users. As an alternative to this monitor, you've also got the Asus ROG Swift PG32UQ. Now, should you want to up the ante, consider the Samsung Odyssey Neo G8, which sports a curved 32-inch 240Hz VA panel with a mini LED structure. This has actually got the Display HDR 2000 certifications, which is actually pretty insane. It also has those fabled HDMI 2.1 ports, which is also very impressive. However, do consider that at 240Hz it does have scanned lines, and it also has got a high input lag with adaptive sync technologies enabled, in other words AMD FreeSync or NVIDIA G-Sync. Now, should you want a larger form factor and a flat panel, consider the Acer X32FP instead. It has got a 32-inch 160Hz IPS panel with a mini LED structure. Indeed, this monitor has got full array local dimming with Display HDR 1000 certification, which is actually very impressive. It also has those fabled HDMI 2.1 ports. It's got good input lag, decent response times, average motion clarity, and also good color accuracy. However, there is some haloing that is present, so it's something worth considering. Now, should you have an even bigger budget, consider one of my favorite 4K gaming monitors, in the ViewSonic XG321UG, which sports a flat 32-inch 144Hz IPS panel. It has also got a native G-Sync module, giving you a tear-free gaming experience on AMD FreeSync or indeed NVIDIA G-Sync. You've also got full array local dimming and HDR 1400 certification, giving you that lifelike HDR experience, class leading for an LCD panel. It's also got decent response times, a good input lag, excellent color accuracy, but doesn't have full bandwidth HDMI 2.1 ports, which might be problematic in certain scenarios. So what about if you want something a little bit bigger? Well, here you've got the Philips Evnia 42 M2N 8900, which sports a 41.54-inch 138Hz OLED panel. This monitor has got excellent input lag and class-leading response times, indeed due to its OLED panel technology. It also has got excellent motion clarity and a good HDR experience with excellent color accuracy. But of course, do consider the limitations of owning an OLED with the TLC that's required and the overall text clarity that one can attain. Moving swiftly on, let's talk about ultrawide gaming monitors. And here you've got the AOC Q24G2X, which sports a 34-inch curved VA panel with a 144Hz refresh rate and a resolution of 3440x1440p. Now, the monitor is ideal for casual gamers because the overall response time isn't exactly the best, although the overall input lag is decent. It also hasn't got exactly the best sort of color accuracy and hasn't got the bells and whistles of more expensive alternatives. Adding a little bit of a premium on top, you've got the HP Omen 34C, which does perform pretty well across the board. It's got a curved 34-inch VA panel that operates at 165Hz and has got the same sort of resolution as the AOC. It's also got impressive response times, input lag, support for HDR, and decent color accuracy. You've also got the HP X34 as an IPS alternative. Speaking of which, if you do want another IPS suggestion, you've got the Acer Nitro XV340CKP, which sports a flat 34-inch 144Hz panel. This monitor is actually pretty affordable, gives you excellent input lag and response times, and decent color accuracy. It's also HDR ready. However, it does suffer from low brightness. Now, really jumping up the overall price scale, you've got the Philips Evnia 34M2C8600, which I deemed as one of my favorite gaming monitors. It has got a curved 34-inch 165Hz QD OLED panel. Indeed, this monitor has got a phenomenal input lag and class-leading response times. It's also got a fantastic HDR experience, thanks to the Display HDR True Black 400 certification. It's also got decent brightness for an OLED panel and excellent color accuracy. But do bear in mind the overall text clarity won't be as good on an OLED in comparison to a regular LCD panel, and does also require a bit of TLC due to the overall OLED panel maintenance. On that note, there is another stonkingly good OLED monitor, and that's the Philips Evnia 49M2C8900. And as the name might suggest, it has got a super ultra-wide format, with a 49-inch form factor and a resolution of 5120x1440p, with a maximum refresh rate of 240Hz. Indeed, it has got still that phenomenally low input lag and excellent class-leading response times and that fantastic HDR experience. Again, do bear in mind the overall OLED limitations and also its absolutely humongous size. So there we have it, a comprehensive list of my favourite gaming monitors that I've reviewed to date. I'd be curious to know which monitor you actually love, and indeed if you're going to be purchasing a monitor following my recommendations, I would very much appreciate you using one of the links down in the description below, as it earns me commission directly via the retailer. Now, if you want to see more from myself and the channel and want some more monitor content, make sure you drop a like, subscribe and hit that bell notification. As such, I've been Totally Dubbed and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves and goodbye.